I'm Joey.T.Cartoon.P and you're watching the Cartoon Palooza. This month I'm going to be playing catch up. What that means is that there are a couple movies that came out in theaters that people want me to talk about and do Cartoon Palooza reviews on. I put out a poll a couple days ago and I found that there was one movie that stood above the rest. Captain Underpants is a brilliant example on how to make a movie that pleases both people who enjoyed the books as well as newcomers to the franchise. The jokes vary from all types of humor, making it impossible for kids and adults to feel avoided. On my first viewing, I felt the jokes may have been a little too childish, but it was after seeing it a second time that I find new levels of appreciation. It was sort of that blend that The Emperor's New Groove had, along with Deadpool, where the humor didn't overweigh the story. Come to think about it, with all the fourth wall breaking, you may as well call this Deadpool for kids. So I don't know if you guys knew this, but I'm a really big fan of the books, and I was really looking forward to this movie, hence why I made that trailer reaction a while ago. There are very obvious parallels made between the books that, for me, made it hard to watch as its own thing, but didn't distract from the overall experience. What I mean is that there are movies that are based on books or other source material. There's going to be a level of scrutiny that makes it difficult to judge as its own thing. So there are going to be things that are not really big problems, but they're going to be issues for fans. I try not to see it this way, but at the end of the day, I'm human. We can easily be swayed by our feelings towards the original work. Part of me found it difficult to get past how the movie was a combination of books rather than adapting single works into individual movies. I always thought each book would fit their own movie. However, after seeing this film, it made it hard for me to believe that it could work as individual films. The way they told their story while staying true to the spirit and tone of the source material, it worked really well. Taking the villains from the second and fourth book, the conflict of the third book, and the origin in the first book, and utilizing it into their own story. Speaking of which, let's talk about the top 5 best Captain Underpants Easter eggs. Things from the book and Dav Pilkey's work that made its way into the movie. Dr. Diaper and his robots weren't physically in the movie, but you did get a chance to see his robots make a number of cameos, as well as name-dropping him. Now speaking of name drops, other characters get their mention like Wedgie Woman, Professor P's second name, Tinkle Trousers, and if you look closely into George's treehouse, you'll see Melvin's alter ego, the Booger Boy. Number 3 isn't a direct Captain Underpants reference, but it's a reference to another one of Pilkey's work, the Halloweener. We see a shot of a man walking his dachshund that's strikingly similar to the book's main character. In the opening comic, we get to see Captain Underpants' origin told through George and Harold's comic, which gets its influence from the origin story that they wrote in the 5th book. And finally, my number 1 favorite Easter egg from the books that made its way into the movie are the Turbo Toilets minions. I'm not even kidding. When I saw those characters come on screen and they said "yum yum, eat 'em up," which was their catchphrase from the book, I was excited. Hey, what can I say? I thought it was adorable. At the end of the day, the books had a simple formula. George and Harold would mess something up, which causes a villain to appear. Captain Underpants gets summoned, but somehow only messes things up more. George, Harold, and Underpants have to figure out what to do to stop the villain. Cue Flip-O-Rama, and everything goes back to normal. Basically, this is what happened in the film, right down to the clever incorporation of Flip-O-Rama, which is the process of taking a page and flipping it over a couple of times to create a small animation. Because the movie takes place over the course of 2 hours, they're also able to incorporate 2 levels of conflict. One is their principle, separating George and Harold into different classes, and the other is Professor P's plot to destroy humor, which in itself is a brilliant theme that works about the books in general. The conflict where they're separated from classrooms, it's okay. However, even they acknowledge that being separated in other classrooms is not that big of a deal. Now in the first book, when Crump catches them on their schemes, he blackmails them to do his bidding in crazy unethical ways that I always found funnier and seem to make the stakes higher. They don't go for the route which makes it feel like your standard arc the boys need to get through, but even in their own words, it's not even a big deal. Now, having Professor P try to get rid of laughter not only takes the conflict from the 3rd film where students are turned into obedient geek zombies, that was a thing, and the book is awesome. It had an extremely long title that they even acknowledge as being an extremely long title. Alright, back to the thing. But it also connects to the overall theme of the books. In later years, I would learn how Pilkey had became an unofficial advocate for kids with learning disabilities, having been a kid who was diagnosed later on in life with attention deficit disorder, and always getting into trouble despite having an amazing ability to write and draw. Now in his books, there's a subtle message on how kids like George and Harold were constantly seen as problem children, who were gonna end up as failures was not exactly true. George and Harold represents a lot of kids whose strengths are not highlighted in school, either because they don't get the right services to showcase those strengths, or, let's be honest, not every school or teacher really understands the kids they're working with. Alright, let's be honest, we all had that one teacher we could not stand. And I know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about you, Miss Greedy, back in the 1st grade. I know what you were on to. You, it's over. It's done. Don't have to, but you know who you are. Without being the focus of attention, the movie explores this theme with Professor P trying to eliminate laughter because of his name. His name being, wait for it, Pippy P Poopy Pants. Man, can you imagine how awesome it is? The book that introduced you to this franchise gets to have their villain used in the movie as their main villain. For me, that was very exciting to see. There's even a great scene where he discusses how medicine is the best medicine, which only drives the message even more, discussing how people can overlook the positives of kids with short attention spans to get bored very easily. Is it me or is that light off? And how's my voice? I'm trying to get a better microphone. For some reason, I don't know. It's just weird. Does it sound right? Let me know in the comment section. The animation is amazing. I heard the filmmakers weren't working with a huge budget despite incorporating different types of animation like puppetry, hand-drawn animation, and even cutout animation. Because the books would break the fourth wall, it only made sense having these different styles fused in the film to give the impression of a larger-than-life world. I thought this was going to be an issue seeing the director worked on the quickly dated and unimpressive film Turbo. Now thankfully, whatever straights he didn't get a chance to showcase in that film were shown off in this, which could also be on account of Nick Stola's screenplay. If that name sounds familiar, you'll recognize his work in recent stabs at animation like in Storks and the recent Muppets movies, reboots or sequels or whatever they are. I thought the voice acting was going to be an issue since in traditional DreamWorks fashion, big name celebrities who assume their star power is what's going to bring people into theaters. Now, this ain't the case. And I found that all the voices worked with the characters they were portraying. Even Ed Helms did an excellent job going between the nasty Principal Trump and then back to the sillier and overtop Captain Underpants. Having adults play children seemed like an odd choice at first, but after watching the film, it actually added a level of humor to the movie that I didn't really think would work. It gives George and Harold more of a presence when adults are acting like kids, when they're actually the ones acting more like adults. I'm gonna be the only one thinking this, but Thomas Middleditch plays Harold. And in the movie, he sounds more like Dov Pilkey in interviews. I don't know if this was an intentional choice or not. When you hear Middleditch's normal voice in shows like Silicon Valley, and then you compare it to his work in Captain Underpants, you can tell that there's a noticeable difference. So I wonder if there was an intentional choice to make him sound like Dov Pilkey. But that's just me. In short, I love this film. Not only as an adaptation of a book series I loved and easily related to as a kid, but also as a movie that treats its audience with respect, despite being loaded with potty humor. Once you get past that, you're gonna find some pretty smart stuff, which is why this series has been doing so well since its start in the 90s. With all that said and done, Captain Underpants, you're getting the worth it rating. So my question for today, what is the chapter book that got you into reading more? For me, it was Captain Underpants, and it was considered a chapter book. Hey, I wrote a 3rd grade paper on it, and it was considered a chapter book, so yeah, chapter book. I'm Joey.T.Cartoon.P, and thanks for watching this review on the Cartoon Palooza.